coming up on Legends.
Are there some things you feel that you would want, maybe in your experience with what is going on in the church today, and is there something that you feel that the church should do, or something that should be approached differently today?
It's just to be concerned to what is happening in society. And where the weakness of the church is exposed, to address it theologically.
Welcome to another episode of The Rangettes. Today we are here in Karen at the home of the very Reverend Dr. George Wanjau, the past moderator of the Presbyterian Church of East Africa, 11th and 12th General Assembly. Dr. Wanjau has been instrumental in a lot of work in the PCA, and for a long time has also ministered at PCA St. Andrews in Nairobi, and also been a trainer of ministers as a principal of the Presbyterian Pastoral Institute. Now, we want to welcome Dr. Wanjau. So, since 1965, you have been in the ministry, both active and now retired.
Yeah.
And then at some point became the moderator of the PCA General Assembly. That was I believe in 1985 to 1991. Because those days I was in the youth, so I can remember. Now, Dr. Wanjau, can you explain to us how was ministry in the early years when you were, after you were ordained, and which was your first parish?
St. Andrews was my first parish.
Okay.
25 years at St. Andrews.
25 years at St. Andrews.
And we enjoyed it, and they gave us all the support we needed.
Yes.
We were very happy.
Okay. I know ministry is a call, but is there one thing that you can say that triggered you to join the ordained ministry?
All along, since I got saved by the Lord, I wanted to be a minister.
Okay.
And I dedicated my life to serving the Lord.
I believe those years, you mentioned something about the East African Revival Fellowship. Please explain to us about the role the East African Revival Fellowship played those years towards the growth of the church.
The East African Revival, without that, the church was threatened by the world.
Yes.
And the brethren kept us together. And we were at the watch. So we couldn't even go astray if we wanted. We had to keep on a narrow way.
Yes.
And the Lord helped us, helped me.
Now, with the East African Revival Fellowship, and I remember during your term as moderator of the Presbyterian Church of East Africa General Assembly, you introduced the charismatic movement.
Yeah.
What prompted you to introduce the charismatic? I remember you were quite passionate about the movement.
It wasn't a new ministry. Charismatic was just talking about the Lord and what He has done for us. And putting another gear into the life of a minister or Christian. Because once you said you are saved, you kind of called attention. You are watched. But the brethren were very kind and very good. And they helped my wife here and I to walk the narrow way.
So the charismatic movement was born of the East African Revival movement?
I won't say exactly. It looked like a new doctrine.
Yes.
To those who are already saved. But it was a blessing to have the charismatic movement.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
Yes, it was. I remember it brought a lot of revival to the church.
Yeah.
Was
yeah.
it ever supported by the East African Revival Fellowship?
We were in it,
Okay.
and they gave us support,
Mm.
and we were at their watch.
Yes.
They are watching us.
Mm.
Mm.
Now, at some point you were the principal of the PCA Pastoral Institute, and you did a lot of work preparing ministers for ministry.
Yeah.
And ever since, we have never had enough ministers for the church.
Yeah.
What would your view be about having more ministers, or what would the church do to ensure that we don't have vacant parishes, in your own opinion?
It is to do a survey
Mm.
and to see how many are coming to the Lord and they would want to be ministers. They are there.
Yeah, okay, oh, yes.
And then to follow them up
Mm.
and then encourage them.
Mm.
Mm.
The other day I was talking to your wife on the phone, and she thanked me for over a sermon I preached at St. Andrews. And does that mean that even at your age, as the two of you, you are still actively engaged or concerned about the life of the church?
Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
It is a big one, and
Yes.
it is a blessing also to us,
Yes.
because without the support of the church
Mm.
and seeing that the church is on a right path
Yes.
makes it difficult for us.
Mm. I've been informed that towards the end of the year, you'll be celebrating 63 years of marriage. That's long. At a time that the institution of marriage has been threatened right, left, and center, and there have been problems in the marriages of even some of the ministers. What would your word of advice be to those of us that are still young in marriage and in ministry?
Is to walk in the light,
Mm-hmm.
and where there is truth, if there is a weakness, to accept it
Mm.
and to talk to the Lord about it.
Mm.
Mm.
So you advise the people to go back to prayer and seek the direction of God.
Mm. There is no other way.
Mm. So now in your retirement and being basically confined here at home, I believe you pray for the ministers a lot and the church.
I do.
Are there some things you feel that you would want, maybe in your experience with what is going on in the church today and now from where you are, that there are some things that you may want to probably have some time? I know you have talked to ministers and elders. Is there something with what is happening today? I know the COVID issue brought a lot of problems in terms of lockdown. Something that you feel that the church should do, or something that should be approached differently today?
It's just to be concerned to what is happening in society,
Mm.
and where the weakness of the church is exposed,
Mm.
to address it theologically
Mm.
through our training.
Yes.
Mm.
I have with me here a very good book, From the Pulpit to the Heart, Sermons, Teachings and Reflections.
Mm.
And this one tells a lot about you and the ministry that you have gone through. So it is a very important tool, a memoir, honestly, about your ministry,
Yeah.
which is very important. What would you advise other ministers to do? Because there are some, they always say that when an elder dies, a whole library goes to the grave. What would you advise other ministers to do?
It is to open their eyes
Mhm.
as the minister
Mm.
and prepare to prepare the people of God for the challenges that come, so that they are not swallowed up.
Oh, yes.
You see, if the church is silent, the church will be swallowed up by the world.
Oh, yes.
And we will suffer.
Thank you so much. I think we'll take the break, and when you come back after the break, we want to take some time and talk to Mrs. Wanjau on her experiences in the journey of ministry with his wife and the journey of marriage for 63 years. And so we will have more about that later. Dr. Wanjau, I want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for availing yourself for this interview.
Okay.
God bless you so much.
Bless you.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up after the break.
Now, you've been married for 63 years.
Yes.
What can you tell us the journey of marriage has been, especially as a spouse of a minister?
Yes, it can be very easy and it can be very difficult.
Na nĩ maũndũ maingĩ mũno Jesũ ekire mũtharaba-inĩ, na mũtharaba nĩ wa bata, na nĩguo ũtũririkanagia wĩra mũrĩku ũrĩa Jesũ atũrutĩire mũtharaba-inĩ. Na gũtirĩ kĩndũ kĩngĩ tũngĩongerera, na nokĩo tũngĩina rwĩmbo tuge atĩ ndirĩ na ihaki niĩ, ngwĩhoka mũtharaba. Kĩo gĩakwa kĩnene kĩhana maithori itingĩhingia watho, no Jesũ nĩ aũhingirie tondũ wa gũtũkuĩra mũtharaba-inĩ. Na koguo tũgĩciria ũhoro ũcio, na tũgĩciria ũrĩa Jesũ Kristo atũkuĩrĩire mũtharaba-inĩ, rekei twĩcirie ona ithuĩ ũrĩa tũngĩikara mũtũrĩre ta ũcio Jesũ aikarire, wa kwĩyuma ta ũrĩa Jesũ eyumire nĩ tondũ witũ.
Now we have a moment to share with Mrs. Wanjau here. And Mrs. Wanjau, the moderator had very kind words about you as a spouse in ministry, as one who has really supported him in ministry, which is a very important thing to hear about, how you have walked together through the journey of the ministry. But there is something that he said about your getting married in Revival Fellowship, which is something that most of us that are getting married today may never understand. Can you give us the process that you had to go through in towards marriage in the Revival Fellowship?
Yes, I married Wanjau and I got saved in the revival during that revival movement. And when I went there, that's where I came to meet George, my husband. He was staying with his uncle. And from there, in the revival, it was very difficult for people, young people. In fact, many left the revival movement because at this stage, when they came to feel that they want to get married, because these leaders who mentored us and they watched us very closely, they would try to find out whether you have a boyfriend or so. Because their emphasis was that we should just get married within the revival movement. A girl should find a husband in the group. And many could not tolerate that. But I don't know how the Lord came to help us meet, and we got married in the revival.
Okay.
They arranged the wedding and everything. So we were very spoiled in the revival. They loved us.
Now, you've been married for 63 years.
Yes.
What can you tell us the journey of marriage has been, especially as a spouse of a minister?
Yes, it can be very easy and it can be very difficult. But the good thing that just as we are saying that we were saved, we kept close, very closely to in the fellowship of the brethren, where we got a lot of help, even especially in those first years. And if I must say, if one loves the Lord and tries to walk in the Lord, pray and be in the fellowship of the brethren, you don't even know. People would tell you you were married for 10 years, 20 years, but life is enjoyable in the Lord. Yeah.
How was the experience of being left by your husband and to take care of the children when he went out for further studies in the US?
Financially, it was very easy because he was on a very good scholarship of Presbyterian Church of America.
And she looked after them very well. I found them healthy. They're happy. And I am grateful to her work. She has been very good and supportive of my ministry. She has been a pillar really in all that we have done.
I must say, at times there is a lot of hypocrisy, if I would call it, because at the church you are seen together, sitting together and loving each other, but at home there can be problems here and there, but they try to hide. So sometimes it's a very artificial kind of life for a wife. I would say that very much with me because my husband was very outspoken, and whatever I did, bad or good, he would tell the congregation. But those who hide these problems and they try to cover them up, the life of a pastor's wife cannot be very easy.
So how did life change for you when he became the moderator of the 11th and 12th General Assembly?
Yes, it affected my work. At that time I was teaching and I was heading a school, but I found that it was difficult for him to, especially to go from one area to another, from Mombasa, Nakuru, Kitale, all those areas. And I found that he needed me. And so I resigned prematurely. I asked the ministry to give me permission, and I retired. It was really to retire. I was just 53 years.
So
but I decided to retire and work with him. So from that time, we started now to go together in the country, abroad, and all that. And perhaps that's why he was so happy with me. Otherwise, he was even a greater help to me than I was to him. Yeah.
So you are, in essence, saying that for the minister to be successful, the spouse also should make some sacrifices, like you did in terms of retiring early.
Definitely. They even know I don't go to the fraternos or pastors' wives, but when I was going and even leading them, because he was the founder of that meeting, I have always told them that surely I don't see how a pastor can be successful without his wife doing some sacrifices.
You are the daughter of the late Reverend Paul Kahuho. So you grew up as a daughter of a minister and got married to one. So you came into marriage, with some experience of how to support your husband in the ministry.
Yes, because I know the problem. I have seen about these three generations. I have seen my father, how he suffered for being a minister, very little pay, and even those days they were traveling on a horse, not a horse. They would call them nyombo. And it was a real sacrifice for a minister. They did. They worked under very, very hard conditions. I have seen the second one, like Reverend Gato, riding a bicycle to work. And now today, where I see the pastors with all the comfort, they have a good house, they have cars, they have what they want, they can travel. So it's not easy. It's not easy. I've seen all these problems in the home of a minister.
Now, let me get this right. Your dad, Reverend Paul Kahuho, was among the first African ministers to be ordained in 1926, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think I read somewhere about that.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us something about your family and your children and where they are now, and grandchildren?
We have 4 boys. One is in the U.S. He went there very early. We sent him to school there. The firstborn. The second born is also has been working he was an engineer. So he's worked in Europe and Nigeria for a long time. Then they called him in America, and he worked there for some time, but he's now retired in America.
Okay.
But he comes here from time to time to see us. At the moment he is here doing a bit of consultation.
Okay.
Yeah, with some farms.
Okay.
Yeah. So the fourth one, Stephen is here with us. He's a teacher at St. George's High School.
Yeah, okay. So what can you tell us about life in retirement?
For us women, retirement is very good. We fit in very well more than the men. Because we always wanted to be at home even when working. So when the time comes to go home, we don't resist very much. And many of us that I know, they like it, and one can change the work what to do. Yes. It was difficult because throughout my life I was I was working, and so I didn't know exactly what to do. So I was just helping my husband. That's why he keeps on saying that I helped him. Okay. Because I didn't know exactly what to do. But I looked around and saw what other ladies are doing. Here at Karen, we have a bit bigger plot. One can grow vegetables. I did some maize and beans like that. But most of the time I was traveling with my husband or helping him around here. And most of all, the people of God have been very encouraging. Yes. They come to see us from most of the churches, and so life has been quite lively and interesting. Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing a lot with us, and we have heard a lot in terms of various dimensions, family, ministry, background, and where you have been, and we want to thank you for being very supportive and taking care of the moderator. And viewers, we are grateful that we had an opportunity to talk to very Reverend Dr. Wanjau and his wife here, and with the words of counsel that we have heard from them, and we continue praying for them in their old age, and as they look forward to celebrating 63 years in marriage, we want to congratulate them. And may the Lord bless you and be with you and guide you in everything that you do. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us. God bless you, Bob. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
Next week on Legends.
I found a house like this one. No sofa set, no table, nothing, no bed. It was empty, just like it was built, but and it was an old house.
Okay.